Hello everyone, in today's video, we're going to learn how to draw this village landscape scene with markers. In the first chapter, we will practice shading basic forms and drawing simple houses. In the second chapter, I will briefly talk about line work and marker stroke technique. Lastly, I will walk you through how to draw this landscape scene step by step. All the art supplies I used in this video, such as markers, pens, and paper, are listed in the description box. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. I will do my best answering all the questions in the comment section. For this warm-up exercise, we will draw a rectangular prism and a triangular prism to practice basic shading using gray markers. If you want to learn details of how to use two-point perspective to draw a house, feel free to check my another video. I will put the link in the description. Before we draw anything complicated, it's always good to practice some simplified forms. The lower part of the house is a rectangular prism, and the roof part is a triangular prism. By doing the shading practice, it helps us better understand how the light affects each plane's darkness level. We have practiced drawing basic forms many times in my other videos. This time I will shade these two forms at the same time. First, use a light shade marker to shade the entire form. The light source is from the upper left. The lightest plane of this rectangular prism is on the top. The lightest plane for the triangular prism is on the left. Your marker stroke can simply follow the direction of each plane. Use a second shade to add the mid-tone. To create a smooth texture, I draw from the edge towards the center and lift my marker at the end, so it doesn't leave an obvious mark. When the first layer of ink is still wet, two colors can blend better. Use a third shade to add core shadow and cast shadow. If you want your drawing look more three-dimensional, don't make the entire plane equally dark, because the light bouncing back from the ground can also light up part of the object. From here, we continue to add dark value to increase the contrast. I add some dots here to make the surface look like a cement. The cast shadow is the darkest, so I use the darker shade to darken the area. If your drawing doesn't have enough volume or depth, it could be the core shadow and the cast shadow are not dark enough, or the light area is not light enough. Basically, it means the shade of lightness and the darkness may be too similar, so it lacks contrast. In this chapter, we're gonna practice drawing two houses following the basic forms we just practiced. I will use two-point perspective as a guide to draw. Since it's freehand, it won't be accurate. If you want to learn how to use two-point perspective to draw a house, feel free to check my another tutorial. I won't emphasize too much about the linear perspective in this video, since the drawing we will do in the final chapter doesn't employ a strong linear perspective. I don't want you to struggle about it too much if you are not familiar with linear perspective yet. To make it simple to understand, when you are drawing a house from this view, try to avoid creating any 90-degree angles. All the windows, doors, walls should have angles that are smaller than 90 degrees on your paper, unless they are not rectangular shapes. There are many styles of line work. I like to move the pen fairly fast to get crisp lines. In a small-scale drawing, we won't draw too many details on doors and a window. But instead of only drawing a rectangle, you can add a vertical line here to show the wall opening cut. Here we can draw 2 close-up views for the windows on each side of the wall to better understand its structure. Now let's shade this house. The process is very simple. We can use the rectangular prism and the triangular prism as a guide. One thing I try to emphasize is the cat shadow under the roof. Here I collected some pictures to help us better visualize. Once you draw the shadow under the roof, it immediately builds up more volume. The width and angle of the shadow is depending on the angle of your light source. I recommend every time you go outside, try to observe the shadow on different houses during different times in the day. It will help you better understand the connection between the light and the shadow. When shading the window glass, it doesn't need to be completely black. Window reflections can be very complex. There's no exact way to draw it. To keep it simple, you can make some areas light and some areas dark. Let's practice drawing another house following the orientation of the triangular prism we drew. The more practices we do, the better we will get. The shading process is same with the last practice. I made a mistake here. I was drawing the shadow of the chimney, but the direction of the shadow was wrong. My light source is from the upper left. I already drew the shadow of the house on the ground. The orientation of the chimney shadow should be same with the house shadow. So what I did is using a blender marker to dilute the ink to fix this mistake. Lastly, use a white pen to add texture and highlight. To draw the trees, we will use two types of marks in this video. The first one is squiggly and pointy mark, which I use often in my other tutorials. My hand is very relaxing and loose when drawing these marks. My speed can be a little fast when doing freehand sketch, but you don't have to do the same. Try to draw them with different sizes and densities, so it looks more organic. The second one is a curved short line mark. There is no exact way to draw them. The key is the consistency. To put in a practice, I'm gonna quickly draw two trees with these two different marks. This is a very easy practice you can follow along. You will see how different marks can create different looks. The basic form of a tree crown is a sphere. If I don't use a pencil to sketch outline first, I will draw some dots as an outline to make sure my overall shape will stay in a circle. The marker stroke technique in this drawing is very simple. To draw houses, we will use long and straight marker strokes. For the trees, we will use short diagonal strokes. If you want to learn more details, feel free to check my How to Draw Trees tutorial. For the sky, we will use diagonal strokes and go back and forth to blend the strokes together. In this final chapter, we will use what we have just learned to do a complete drawing. While I'm doing pencil sketch, I would like to share my brainstorm process. My initial idea is drawing some small houses with fluffy trees around, something very simple. And I want to use pink and green as my main color theme. I did lots of rough sketches off camera. This is the first sketch I did. I did like how it turned out, but I needed to adjust the composition and reconsider my color choices. I tried to use different colors on the roof and try different hues of pink markers I have. The only way to find out what the colors look great together is to try them out. Throughout this drawing, I will share with you some tips and mistakes I made. Hopefully it will be helpful for you. Something I try to improve is my pencil outline. My pencil outline used to be very messy. It takes me lots of time to clean and refine. When I use pencil to draw one line, I often go back and forth to trace it. But in this drawing, I try to get rid of that habit. I'm trying to draw pencil outline like I was using an ink pen. Your line weight can create depth to your drawing. For anything that is closer to the viewer, I will use a thicker pen. You will see me turning my sketchbook many times so I can better draw straight lines. draw things in the background, I change the size of my pen to size 0.5. In this drawing, I decide my light source is from the upper right, because I want to leave this side of walls blank as part of the light value. First, I use a light yellow color to color the highlight area. It will blend the green color to create a warm tone. Keep in mind, most of the time, use light colors before dark colors. If you use green first, then yellow on top of it, it will create a similar effect, but it will be slightly different. For the flower trees here, it's very important to use these two colors together. All the pink colors I have are very cold, so they don't go well with the rest of this drawing. Using a low saturated yellow underneath the pink makes the pink more mellow and warm. For the body of the house, I decided to use cool gray colors. I will mainly color the shadow area. color the sky, I don't want the marker stroke to stand out. I want the sky look far away. So what I am doing is going back and forth to blend all ink to make them have a soft edge instead of very sharp edge. Remember, when we were doing trees and shrubs, we simplify its form as a sphere. I am adding darker values on the left side of each tree. The paper is really important. The marker ink can act differently on different types of paper. On the mixed media paper, my marker strokes blend nicely together, without me putting too much pressure on it. Overall, my colors are very warm and I have used lots of yellow. Here, I'm adding a few purple colors to soothe and balance this drawing. I could just stop here and finish this drawing, but I felt it still needs more volume and contrast, so I kept adding darker shades of green to increase the volume of the tree. This is pretty much the final look of this drawing. I will keep adding layers to the sky at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and have learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.